Before the start of tonight's review, just want to remind you all that if you have a television series that you would like to see reviewed right here on OAW Entertainment, whether that be a first impression style review or a full-blown season review, become a patron at patreon.com/OAW and select the Blockbuster tier. In addition to your request for the review of your choice, you also get access to Patreon exclusive content, as well as you get an invite to join the OAW Discord server, as well as a guest spot on the live monthly Q&A held right here on the OAW YouTube channel, as well as the OAW Facebook page and Twitch channel. So once again, that's patreon.com/OAW and select the Blockbuster tier. And with that being said, this is my review of the season premiere and the pilot series premiere of the Game of Thrones prequel series, House of the Dragon. Let's get it started.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Greetings to everyone watching live and everyone watching after the fact. Shout out to the faithful and salute to the patrons. This is Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, here to bring you all much of a late night review. Sorry for the hour, guys. I do apologize for that. I actually did not anticipate how long this first episode actually was going to be, and I found myself rewinding it a few times. But rest assured, here I am to give you all my thoughts on the pilot for the Game of Thrones prequel series, House of the Dragon. Now, not planning on making this one a very long stream, so if you guys have any questions or comments you want to have addressed before the end of tonight's broadcast, you can always drop a super chat. That'll guarantee that I'll read it before I wrap up tonight. If time permits, I'll go ahead and see what comments or questions I could get to, but by all means, feel free to share your thoughts on this episode and on the series so far in the comments below. Once again, you can always support the channel via super chat. That's always greatly appreciated. You can also support the channel via Cash App. That is linked in the description box below. But if you still want to support the channel, you can always a share. That helps the channel out a lot. That helps the video out a lot, gets a lot of traffic over to the video and to the channel. So with that being said, now let's go ahead and get into the review. Let me switch up my graphics real quick. Bam, bam. All right. So, and for the brief synopsis of this episode, I will be referring to the description box below. So as always, feel free to read along with me. So this is my review of the first episode of the 2022 American fantasy drama television series, House of the Dragon. It is a prequel to the television series Game of Thrones, and both based on a Song of Ice and Fire books by George R.R. Martin. This series particularly is based primarily off of Fire and Blood, which records the history of the Targaryen dynasty, and that was published, I believe, in 2018. That's the primary inspiration for this series. The prequel series was created by Martin and Ryan J. Condal for HBO, with Condal and Miguel, help me out with this name, Sapochnik, serving as showrunners. And a brief synopsis of the series set 200 years before the events of Game of Thrones. The series chronicles the beginning of the end of House Targaryen, the events leading up to and covering the Targaryen War of Succession, known as the Dance of Dragons. So very, very brief synopsis of that. That's actually a synopsis of what the series is. Pretty much what the first episode covers is all of the events that lead up to the pretty much the events that spark the start of that conflict. So I'm going to go ahead, jump into the story for this episode, jump to the plot, and then from there I'll give you all my thoughts on the episode. So essentially what we have in this first episode is all of the unprecedented things that leads to what will eventually be the War for Succession, right? So we start off with the prologue, where it is revealed that I believe it is pronounced Jacaerys, the former king and the head of House Targaryen. The precedent that's set there is that unfortunately his two sons have passed before him, and he did not have a successor already set up in line. So he then he then calls this grand council with all the lords and all the houses throughout the Seven Kingdoms. And that's where he officially announces an heir. He decides to go with his eldest male descendant. He actually passes over his eldest descendant, who is one of the Targaryen princesses, and he decides to go with his eldest male descendant, who is Viserys the First. And then we fast forward from there 10 years to where Viserys has been trying to produce heirs of his own. He has one daughter. All of the sons that he did have were either stillborn or they died very young in infancy. And so now he is pretty much in the same position as the king before him, where he has to choose a successor. Again, no males. The best next option would be his brother Daemon, who was another one that was passed over in the previous selection. And so he decides to set another precedent of his own where he selects his daughter. So that pretty much right there is, I mean, that's where the episode leads off, is where his daughter is officially announced as his successor. And at the same time, he decides to go ahead and banish his brother for remarks being disparaging remarks about his brother, about the late queen, and about the late prince. Both the queen and prince died due to difficulties with childbirth. And so Viserys wasn't hearing that. And when he found out that his brother was talking smack, he decided, you know what, bro, love you, fam, but it was time for you to bounce. It's time for you to get out of here. And so now we've pretty much set up what we know is going to be the point of contentions in the series moving forward. Granted, of course, this was revealed in the trailer and in all the commercials. But, Daemon, he feels himself to be the rightful heir, being the king's younger brother and being the eldest. Well, I guess within that line of succession, he is, the eldest male. I say eldest male because there are other Targaryen men, but, it's Viserys' brother. That's that same main family. So, of course, he's going to buck back against this. From what I gathered, they are setting him up as the primary antagonist for the series, but I'm pretty sure they'll be introducing several more throughout the course of the show. But I think just initially they did a pretty good job at setting that up. And so this is pretty much what we're going to be seeing moving forward. It's more or less pretty much the same story as Game of Thrones in many respects. It's just now we get to see how House Targaryen, which according to the timeline that was given in the series, we're talking about a dynasty that ran for about 300 years. Because prior to this, that dynasty had already been going on for a century. And then the story starts 200 years before the events of the original series, specifically 172 years before the birth of Daenerys. So that's sort of where we are in the timeline. So if you do the math, it's roughly about 300 years the Targaryens were in power. So so now we get to see how that house, how that house crumbled from within. So that'll be the interesting thing. So now that I pretty much got the synopsis out of the way, like I said, what do I think of the story? Good setup. I can definitely, as I mentioned before, the point of contention, I think they did a good job with that. Now, I know a lot of people are going to throw stones and volleys and arrows and whatnot over the woke factor that exists in this show. Okay. But before I go down that rabbit hole, because I don't really think I got enough time to go down that rabbit hole tonight. But the thing about that is, first off, the main series was really fucking woke, if you think about it. And number two, yes, this series is going to be leaning heavy into gender politics because that's kind of the whole premise. That's kind of what the series, that's the whole conceit, right? The notion that the first queen, God forbid that a woman sit on the Iron Throne, right? Like that's kind of what the whole setup for the show is. Now, if that's not your bag, I can totally get it. Hell, it's not my bag. but I'm at least willing to give the series a couple of more episodes just to see how they handle it. I do have some concerns in regards with some of the characters, which I'm getting ready to get into right now. But as of right now, I mean, it was a pretty solid pilot. I didn't have too many issues with it. So yeah. But with that being said, yeah, let me go ahead and get into some of the characters as well as some of the performances, because I actually like them. I actually like them. So first off, let me make sure I do not pronounce this gentleman's name, but Paddy Considine, as Viserys the First, he did a good job. I really did like his performance. I do like Viserys's portrayal. He does not seem to be afflicted with a lot of the flaws and the shortcomings of some of the popular Targaryen rulers that we know of previously from the series and from the books. He does seem to be somewhat level-headed, but as it is pointed out towards the end of the series, he is not as ambitious, nor is he as assertive as some might want him to be. And because of that, you can see how it may be easy for a lot of people to take advantage of him. We have enough reason to believe that Daemon has already done that. If nothing else, because he's the one that brought that up to Viserys, the fact that the other lords on the council are doing that to him now. So yeah, and you can kind of see the makings of, like, yeah, at some point Viserys might get fucked over, just because it'll be easier for anyone to do that to him. That's not to say he's a complete pushover, but he's definitely not. I don't consider him to be as strong-willed. He's definitely not as strong-willed as his younger brother. Not even close. And if those two were ever to come to blows, Daemon's taking that. No question. No question. But still solid performance, and I like how they I do like his portrayal. Now, that being said, let's talk about Matt Smith. Let's talk about Matt Smith as being as Prince Daemon. All right. Now, the funny thing about this is, me particularly, I'm not a Matt Smith fan. Nothing against the actor. He just had his look always throws me off. That being said, I think that his look is perfect for a villain type role, and he certainly does fit the bill here. So, but in terms of his performance here, it's pretty solid. Of course, this is only one episode, so we need to see what all happens with that character moving forward. But he definitely has a presence. He definitely commands every scene he's in. His introductory scene was fantastic. It was great, and I love that image of him on the Iron Throne, just kind of leaning over, chilling. Of course, we're getting mad Scar vibes from him. Baby brother who's supposed to be next in line, sort of thing. We definitely get that vibe. We get that we get that egotistical, mechamaniacal sense from him. Yes, we get all of that. They're making that character up. They're building him up in that way. All of that is fine. The only thing I hope to see from him, I'm hoping for a little bit more nuance. That's the one thing I will give, the original series for. It's like even their most antagonistic characters still had a level of nuance to them, where it's not just that they're a villain for the sake of being villain. I mean, yes, Cersei was an evil, mechamaniacal bitch, right? But she still had a nuance to her character as well. So I'm hoping at some point we start to see those levels with Daemon moving forward. Hopefully. And then, so then we got, let's see, and then there's Emma Darcy as Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen. Of course, this is, Matt Smith is the big name for the show, but Emma Darcy she's definitely supposed to be like the lead, right? From what I can gather, she's going to be our primary antagonist. She's definitely the Daenerys sort of counterpart in this whole story, you know, the girl queen, if you will. Definitely getting those same types of vibes, the way the character is portrayed, the way she's written, hell, even the way they shoot her in some scenes. They're very much aping her to be, you know, like the Daenerys sort of feeling for this series. But I mean, the actress does a good job. She does a good job. I'm actually highly impressed with her performance. I love the subtlety in her speech. I love her wit and the sense of humor. She has a very dry sense of humor. Like I said, she's witty. It's very matter of fact. It's a very factual sense of humor. You know, she's not just cracking a joke. She doesn't crack jokes without them also being poignant. So like that, I appreciate that. And she has I appreciate about her character the most is that she's not she echoes femininity. She isn't trying to ape, you know, traditional male traits or behaviors. You know, she's not trying to be Daenerys. Like she's not trying to do. She is very much a lady. You know what I'm saying? But with her wit and with her humor and with her dialogue, she doesn't come off as arrogant. She doesn't come off like a snarky bitch. No, it's very cute. It's very charming. Her dialogue is closer to Tyrion. It's more Tyrion than Daenerys, in my estimation. So yeah, so I dig that, and like I said, the actress does a really good job at delivering those lines. She does a really good job, like I said, just those subtle, you know, her expressions, her mannerisms. Like she does a really good job. And we already see her, you know, multiple levels, right? We see her being happy and joyous. We see her being silent and contemplative. We see her cry. We see her being sad. We see her experience pain, especially after losing her mother and her little brother. Like we see that. So I will be very interested in seeing her performance moving forward. And I think they did a good job with that casting. Definitely. Definitely. So let me see, who else do I want to bring up real quick? Other performances that I really dug. Of course, I got to bring up my man, and I always mispronounce his name, so y'all just bear with me on this. I've always pronounced it Ray Ifans. I know I'm mispronouncing his name, but yeah, he plays the role of Otto Hightower, who is the Hand of the King. And yes, he is the political foil for Prince Daemon. Like I said, I feel terrible the fact that I mispronounced his name, because I know for a fact I am, because I've been doing it ever since I first saw him as a kid in The Replacements. Been a fan of his for a very long time. Great actor. He's great here as well. I am curious to see just how big of a role he plays in this season, considering that well, not just him, but I'll be honest with you, the entire council. I'm curious to see how big of a role they will play overall, just because they're all being presented in a supporting capacity. But I would imagine, I'm curious just to see, because we know that the main stars of the show is House Targaryen. So all of the supporting characters outside of the main family, I'm curious to see just how involved with the conflict, like how swept up in this war for succession they'll be. And I'm also concerned about that, because since they aren't part of the main family, that might mean that they're, again, remember the franchise in which we're talking about. Anybody can go at any minute. And I'm afraid like some of those characters might be, on the chopping block, might be the first to go, just because they might not necessarily be required to move the conflict forward. So yeah, so I'm trying not to get too attached to anybody that's not a Targaryen. But then again, we already know what happens to the Targaryens. So yeah, but he does a really great job. And I definitely dig Sir Hightower. He's pretty cool. Let's see. The other one I do want to talk about though is Lord Corlys Valerian, also known as the Sea Snake, right? And this is played by Steve Toussaint. I like this dude. I like this dude. He's pretty cool. Can't say. I mean, I'm pulling up his filmography now. He's done a lot of roles, and I do believe he's been in some stuff I've seen before. I just, he's just one of those. He's one of those I don't recognize immediately, but I dug him. And I thought he was pretty cool. Pretty cool cat, pretty cool character. Let's see. Were there any other ones that I wanted to bring up? Let's see. Sir Cole. He was pretty cool. I just don't know how big of a role he'll really have to play in the story. That's why I'm kind of reserving my thoughts on him. But all in all, really good cast from so far, from what I can tell. Pretty good performances. Cool on that front. Now let's see. What do I want to talk about next? Okay, how about this? Let's talk about some visuals. Because now, granted, of course, this series has a bigger budget than Game of Thrones had initially. So, of course, you're going to see the dollars on screen. The other thing, too, is I don't recall reading any stories or coming across any reports where, like, the cast demanded, high salaries or anything like that. So I'm pretty sure the bulk of the money didn't go there as well. I will tell you this. I am definitely digging the visuals. I think in many respects, they actually upped their game in the CGI department versus the original series. And I'm talking about even with some of the latter seasons, because I remember seeing clips from some of those later seasons. And I still think the CG here, for the most part, it looks pretty solid, man. I love the designs of the dragons. I think they look really cool. I'm loving the sets designs. Ancient King's Landing, as it were, or historic King's Landing, if you will. I really like the way that looked. I was very impressed with the way they handled the tournament in this episode. If y'all recall the tournament from season 1 of Game of Thrones, right? One of the biggest criticisms about that scene, granted, we're going back, 11 years now, but if you recall, one of the biggest criticisms about that scene was, where are all the people? Because it seemed like the venue was too small to say that it was this grand tournament for King's Landing and everything like that. And then it seems like there weren't enough people in the stands. I love how in this episode, they shoot when they give you the landscape and they let you know just how big. And that, from the opening scene when the princess is riding on her dragon and she's riding over King's Landing, they let you see just how big this sucker is, right? And then as soon as we get to the tournament, the way, the first thing we see is a overhead shot of the stadium, and then we zoom in on the stands where the royal family is and where the council is, right? So we get to see all of the main lords and whatnot. But then we pan out and then we whip back around so you could see the other side of the stadium and you get to see the whole thing. And it's like, dude, yeah. And they filled it with fucking people. Granted, these are CGI people, I'm pretty sure. We got the extras in there whenever we wanted to shoot close-ups and stuff like that, so you could see that they were real. But even still, you can tell they made sure that they handled all of their backgrounds. They made sure that this sucker looks populated, looks like it's real. Even though we know it's not, right? Because it's computer generated, but they're selling the illusion. And I think they did a pretty good job at that. That was the most impressive thing. That surprised me more than anything else was the graphics. They did a good job with that. And finally, I guess the only other thing I really wanted to bring up was just the music. I dug the music. I really liked it. I like the new score because essentially it is the the original Game of Thrones score, but they kind of remixed it. They kind of retooled it a little bit. So I kind of like this new rendition of it, But yeah, it was. So yeah, man. I mean, I really don't have any issues. Really didn't have any issues with the first episode. I thought it was solid. I thought it was pretty cool. But I'd be curious to see what some of you all think. Let's go to the chat. I see. I wanted to bring this one up. This one, a name I don't recognize. Oh, actually, let me go ahead and switch this to classic mode. And this comes from Cardano Ada News. Waiting on seeing your review. Been watching since you started Game of Thrones reviews a decade ago. Don't remind me that it's been that long. Please don't. Please don't. I already feel old. All right, let's see. I see my man Yusuke Knight is in the building. Philip says George likes to base the stories on real life. Game of Thrones was based on War of the Roses, and this is based on the Anarchy English Civil War involving a female heir. Okay. Let's see. Dejon Powers is in the building. One of the patrons. Salute to you, sir. Says, so you planning to keep watching the series? As of right now, you know what? I will check out episode 2. I'm not gonna lie. I'm willing to check out episode 2 because I dug this. I thought it was pretty. I thought it was pretty cool. And let's see. It's X Trey. Welcome. Name I don't recognize. Welcome, sir. Says didn't expect to see you talking about this, especially after you dropped Game of Thrones. Well, hey, I mean, technically it's a new series. Technically, this is a new series, and I don't have to worry about spoilers because I already know how it ends. We all know how it ends. So yeah. Let's see. King Taichi says, I dropped GOT at season 4. I may watch this one if the story progresses well. Well, King Taichi, I will say this. Just watch the first episode. Watch the first episode. Get a vibe for it. Again, I think they did. I mean, it's easy enough to say that if you've seen the original series, you pretty much know what you're going to get. But even if you hadn't, like, let's say like this is the first time you've ever seen, I think the first episode does a good job at least getting you prepared for the vibe of the series moving forward. Like I said, I mean, I'm pretty much expecting this to just be Game of Thrones all over again. But I'm hoping that since it is a prequel and since we already, we have a confinement of time, if you will, I'm just hoping that the storytelling will be a little bit tighter. A little bit tighter, a little sharper. Not because one of the biggest complaints I had about that original series was just how much filler there was. And that was because they were trying to, they only had when they started that original series, they only had 4 books to work with. Because remember, the 5th book hadn't come out yet. Because I don't think the 5th book came out until season 2, right? I want to say that was the case. Yeah. When season 1 aired, the 5th book hadn't come out yet. By the time season 2 aired was when the 5th book came out. So they padded the series to try and stretch out the material because they had a finite amount of source material. Since this story more or less was already written, like I'm hoping they won't do that. But then again, who knows? If this show's a hit and if it's anything nearly as successful as the original, they might pad it just to be able to stretch it out multiple years. I don't think they should do that, though. I don't think they should. I think this should be treated like a miniseries. This should be treated like Better Call Saul, right? Better Call Saul wasn't trying to be as long. I mean, it's almost as long as Breaking Bad, technically, because I think it is 5 seasons. But that wasn't the original intent. You know what I mean? And from what I've heard, granted, still haven't seen the series, I've heard nothing but good things about it. And I've seen a couple of episodes and I've seen a couple of clips. But what I'm asking for is I'm just hoping that the storytelling, the writing is just a little tighter, a little bit better, well knit. You know what I'm saying? Not so much like I hope I never watch an episode and I can tell what's filler. Because I mean, we weren't even, within season 2 of Game of Thrones, I could tell shit that was filler. Why? Because it had nothing it didn't move the plot. It didn't move the plot further. So I mean, that's the easiest way to how do you distinguish filler? Does it move character? Does it move plot? If it doesn't, then it shouldn't be there. That's filler. Let's see. Mustafa Aiden says, hey, it's been a minute. It's the guy that asked you about Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, but that's not the question. I want to ask. What I want to ask is it worthy of watching Game of Thrones? Meaning, do you have to watch Game of Thrones in order to watch this? Because I'm going to say no. Seeing as how this is a prequel anyway, you don't have to have seen that series to watch this one. And from the way they wrote this first episode doesn't dictate that you have any prior knowledge either. It's just that if you have seen the original series, there's just certain things that you'll pick up on in this episode, you know. So like when they show Rick and Stark, okay, and you know, and then House Baratheon, okay, Dragonstone, you know, Harrenhal, okay, yeah, I know, yeah, just stuff like that, you know, name recognition, stuff like that. That's the only thing. But I don't think, you don't need to have seen that series to watch this one. I didn't get that from this episode. And then Philip says showrunners are saying 3 to 4 seasons. I read the book and 3 would probably be best. Yeah, that's what I gather, right? I'm thinking, about 3 to 4. I would put it to you like this. How about this, Philip? Let me know what you think about this. Now, we know the war of secession, right? That is pretty much that's pretty much like one period, like one thing. That is not pertaining to the rest of the Targaryen reign from this point forward, right? If that's just the case, I'm thinking 3 seasons. The only reason I would say you might do an extra season or something is if you're going to do the Mad King, which we know takes place, 100 years after this, right? So, 200 years after this. So unless you were going to jump ahead and actually tell that story, then 3 seasons is about what you would need, especially because I think they're still doing 10 episodes per season, 30 episodes. That's more than enough time, assuming you don't do filler. So I agree with you, Philip. I would say about 3. Mm-hmm. All right, and final question for this evening. I have no clue how to pronounce that, but I will try. Aldi Juraj says, unrelated, but will you ever review Attack on Titan? If someone requests it, I will. But as it stands, nah, I don't even keep up with Attack on Titan. Sorry, my friend. All right, but that pretty much wraps up all my thoughts on House of the Dragon, season 1, episode 1. I dug it. I thought it was fine. Again, like I said, I mean, if you like the original series, I mean, chances are you're probably already watching this. You don't really need me to convince you. So, now, I think earlier someone asked, maybe it was Dejan that asked he asked if I would be continuing it, not if I plan on continue reviewing it. Like I said, I will check out the second episode. In terms of continuing to review it, I don't know. I would actually have to see what the reception for this one is. Even see if there's enough interest on the channel from my viewers to want to see me do this again. But hey, how about this? You guys let me know in the comments below. And I'll tell you what else too. Let me know with a thumbs up on this vid. And depending on what the reception is for this, who knows? Maybe I might come back next week. I do got some other plans because I know next weekend is going to be the monthly Q&A for August. But depending on if I come back for the second episode, that's pretty much going to depend on when I do the Q&A. Either it'll be Sunday night, it'll be Saturday night, or Friday, one of those. But we'll see. Like I said, if you guys want me to continue reviewing the series or at least get to episode 2, let me know in the comments below and give this one a thumbs up. So I want to go ahead and take this opportunity to thank everybody for watching live. Thanks everyone for watching after the fact. As always, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Follow me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Links are all in the description box below. If you want to support the channel, you can do so via Cash App. The link for that is in the description box below. And last but certainly not least, because I got a couple of questions for it in this video. If you guys, that says film review, TV review. If you guys have a request for me to check out a television series, whether it's first impression style or whether you want a full-blown season review, or hell, maybe you're ambitious enough to want to do a full season series review, hit me up. Become a patron at patreon.com/OAW. Select the Blockbuster tier. Once again, in addition to your request for a review, you get access to all the Patreon exclusive content. You get access to the OAW Discord server, and you get an invite to join in live on the monthly Q&A right here on the OAW YouTube channel, as well as the Facebook page and Twitch channel, because we simulcast the live Q&A. So yeah, what to keep an eye out for me. Like I said, next week is going to be the live monthly Q&A. So by all means, bring all your questions, all your comments. We're going to be kicking it for a couple of hours every month, like we do with the live monthly Q&A. I also got a couple of reviews coming down the wire. Don't have a designated time on those just yet, but I do have deadlines for them. Those reviews will be my Cobra Kai seasons 1 through 4 review. Still trying to decide if I'm gonna do it separate or if I'm gonna do it in one big video. But the deadline for that is September 9th, because that's when season 5 kicks off. So there's that. And then also I have the Legend of Korra season 3 and season 4 reviews. Those are coming out too. Haven't quite set a deadline for those yet either, but I do know one of them has to be done before the end of September. The other one might be October, but keep an eye out for that as well. And other things coming down the wire as well. I got top 5s. I got a laundry list of top 5s I got to get done. I think I might have a discussion of the week coming up here in a week or two with some other requests as well. So with that being said, this has been Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief. I am signing off, and until next time, peace.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?